Good morning. My name is Doon Foster. I'm a class of 1980 graduate of the College of Worcester, and I'm a trustee and have been on the board for, I think, 9 years. I'm talking to you today about beekeeping. I am going off to pick up my packages of bees. I've got 2 packages of bees coming, I think, from Georgia. They were trucked up last night on a tractor trailer truck with their sisters, and I'm going to go pick up 2 packages. I have 2 hives in my backyard, neither of which overwintered, so I am starting from scratch this morning. So in each of these packages will be 3 pounds of bees, which is kind of a weird way to measure that, but that's how it does. 3 pounds of bees and a queen that was put in there in a tiny little cage. I'll show you that later, but that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to jump in the car, go get my bees, and I'll come back and I'll show you what we do with them. So I picked up my bees and I am out here in my bee yard, which is basically just my backyard. I have my 2 hives here. There's one behind me. I've gathered almost all the stuff I need. The bees are in the car. I'm going to try a new way to install my bee packages. Usually what happens is you open up the box, and this will be clear when you see the box. Spray them down with some sugar water so they don't fly, and you thump them on the ground to make them all fall to the bottom, and then you open up the lid and you shake them. Usually, some 5,000 bees, you shake them into the hive, and they're a little agitated because they've been sitting in this box for a while, and so they fly. So I saw something on YouTube the other day that I'm going to try, so we'll see how that works. So here's my empty beehive. So I'm gonna take off this top cover, take off my inner cover, and here are the frames of beeswax. Here you can see, this has got a little bit of capped honey on the end here. So that's honey from last year. These are frames or cells that the bees have formed. They may have a wax gland that they make all this wax with. I have small 8-frame boxes, which I find is easier for me to manipulate. And I use shallow frames, so they're not, some of them are twice as big as this, twice as deep as this, so they're awfully heavy when they get all full of honey. This space, there's blockers here that keep these frames separated by a certain amount. That's called bee space, and the bees will, you can see here, the bees may form a little bit of comb in there, but that's the amount that they like to travel in. If it's too big, they fill it up with stuff, and if it's too narrow, they can't get through. So I'm gonna arrange these all in a nice even way, and then I'm going to put my bees in there. So this is a frame with foundation on it, and you can see it's pretty flat. It's got little nubs where the hexes are gonna go, and so the bees will use that as a guide to build their cells. So here's a frame where they have built those cells, and those cells hold pollen, honey, and baby bees. So this is a pretty new frame of drawn foundation, we call it. Here's a old frame of pollen. You can see the different color pollen in the different cells. The bees mix it with a little bit of nectar, the pollen that they bring in, and they shove it in these cells, and they use that to feed their baby bees. Here's one. I don't know if you can actually see that. It's got a little bit of nectar in it. So they put nectar in the cells, and then they fan in the hive to bring the moisture content of the nectar down to the right percentage water to make honey. And when they get it to the right percentage, then they put a little cap on it, which I thought I had one here. Hold please. Here, so here you can see these are drawn cells. These have got a little bit of nectar in it, and now these cells have got a cap on the top of it, so they make a little lid for the cell by cell, to protect that honey when it's ready. I'm going to put my box of bees on top here. I'm going to put an empty box around, and then I'm going to leave them for a couple hours and see if they come out of their box. All right, here we go. So these are how bees come. They're in a plastic box. It's about the size of a shoebox. Here's my hand up against it. And they're in there. I hope you can hear them buzzing around. So they've been in here for about 2 days, I would guess. And in the top here, this is, let me see how I'm gonna do this. This top slides off. And here is our queen in her cage. Whoops, where is she? There she is. So she is attended by, I see 5 or 6 worker bees, because she doesn't really do anything by herself. So I'm looking to make sure she's in there and she's all right. She's this big one over to the left, in the middle there. She's not marked, which sometimes they are. Actually, you can see her sisters poking their antennas up through the slats. It's mildly terrifying. So in one side of the queen cage, there's a cork, and I need to pull that out. And that white stuff is a candy, hard sugar water candy that the bees will eventually eat. There's a cork on that side. Actually, that's the cork I'm going to pull out. So I'm going to pull that cork out, and then over the course of, well, 24 hours, 48 hours, they will, the inside bees in this cage and the bees in the hive will eat from both sides of that candy block and reach her. And in the 2 days that it takes to do that, they will become acclimated to her pheromones and they will accept her. If I put her in there right this minute in the middle of the scrum, they would attack her because they don't really know her. So I'm going to take out that little piece of cork and then put her aside for a minute. There's an escapee, little worker bee that's got out and talking to her sisters. All right, so here's my queen cage. She's gonna go down in between there, and that paper clip is gonna hold her in place. Now I need to take this can out of here. This is a can of sugar water that has been traveling with these guys. Oof, lots still in there. So I need to pull that out and then put that little cap back on. Okay, so now I pulled that can out and put that plastic lid back on. And so this is the new part for me. instead of turning this box of mildly cranky bees upside down and shaking it, I'm going to turn it upside down and let them just come out gently at their leisure. Their queen is in the hive, so they're going to want to go down there and find her. So here we go. Okay, so I'm not going to lie, I put on my hat and my gloves because it's only when you're stupid that you get stung. Well, it's mostly when you're stupid that you get stung. So here's the bees. They're upside down. The hole is at the bottom. The queen is in there. They're gonna start looking for her. I'm gonna put a box around this cage. I'm gonna put a feeder in there and I'm gonna let it alone for a while. All right, this is me in my bee hat. So I've installed both of my packages in my hives and didn't get stung. I need to come back out here a little bit later and see if they've come out of those boxes and give them some food in those hives and some pollen, which comes in a brown pancake. And so then we'll see that. And then in 2 days, I will come out here and take a look, make sure that the queen is out of her cage and see if see if I can find her in the scrum, and then they will get to work. She came to me mated, so queen bees fly basically only once in their life. They have a nuptial flight, it's called. And so she flies, and drones from another hive will impregnate her. They die in the process, but she will receive at the time of that flight all the sperm that she needs to lay sometimes 1,000 eggs a day. And a queen bee could live for, if you can get 2 years out of her, you're good. She might be able to go 3, but that's pretty unusual. So 2 years is pretty good. So all that sperm, and then she never leaves the hive again. So her worker bees, yep, hello. Her worker bees are her daughters. The drones are her sons. She can decide when she's laying eggs whether she's laying drones or worker bees. She knows what the hive needs and will lay accordingly. So we're gonna see how that works. It's about almost 60 degrees, so it's a good day, a little bit sunny, so they should be pretty happy in there. The bees that came are all different ages. So there will be, the young ones are nurse bees. There's not any babies in there yet to need to nurse. So, and when I say nurse, I mean attend to. So there's foragers, and they'll be, getting their bearings, flying out and seeing where the heck they are, because as you can imagine, they're a little disoriented. But by today's Saturday, by the end of the week, they should be running on all cylinders and functioning as a hive. So here's hoping. Thanks. So they're coming out, they're flying around a little bit. Here's some from the lid that I just put down there so they can find themselves acclimated. There's actually a couple dead ones there. So yeah, no stings, so that's a good news. Plenty of time for that though. Season's long, and I just happen to know that I'm gonna be dumb. So that's it for now. I'll come back in a couple hours and see if they're out of their plastic boxes. Okay, so it's a couple hours later and I've got bees coming in and out of their little doorway. So that's a good sign. So now we're gonna go and see if we can take those white boxes out. And I'm just firing up my smoker because I don't want to be an idiot. I don't know what those ladies are doing inside their hive. So the smoke just sort of calms them down a little bit. So I would rather be safe than sorry. So that's my smoker. All right, here we go. Okay, so they were mostly out of the box. I took the box away. You can see where the paper clip is where the queen is, and you can see them all clustered around her and buzzing their wings. That's where they want to be. And a feed jar of water, sugar water. And I'm going to put the box back on to protect that, and the lid back on to that. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I did that. That's the roof. Oops. Roof comes off, lid comes off. White plastic thing. Empty, almost empty. Couple of bees. We'll bang them. And we're gonna put this in the front of the hive. Oop. So they will go in the entrance there and they get their act together. Again, there they all are with the paper clip. So I'm going to take this box off, take this box off, put the lid on, a pollen pancake, and the sugar water. Then I'm putting this box back on and the lid back on. All right, I'm gonna brush these guys toward the hive. Maybe I'm gonna knock them. What am I gonna do? There, they should all figure that out. This other hive, these guys are mostly out. Maybe one quick tap. All right, so these guys on the ground should get their act together, fly up here into the hive, and be all tucked in for the night. So that's it. That was beekeeping in Connecticut. Not quite for dummies, but it was fun. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that makes you think about bees. They're fun. They're fun, mildly terrifying, but it's delicious. Honey and an amazing sort of sociological experiment. Going in there and opening up the hive is just really very fun to see what's going on and what they're all doing, and everybody's got their job. I find it really fascinating.